This conference will now be recorded.
Hi guys, good evening. Suresh here.
Good evening, Suresh.
Yeah, good evening guys. Good evening one and all. So guys, today we are going to look towards the provisioning settings and the permissioning of Employee Central module. Okay, so normally as per the sequence of implementation, if you have to speak, so definitely these provisioning settings will come in the starting of the project. So you are required to activate those provisioning settings of any module when you are starting the project. Before you do any configuration, only then, I mean, at that stage only it should be done. Without activating the provisioning settings, you are not, you will not be able to do the configurations actually. Okay. So but the reason why after these many sessions now I am opening up the provisioning settings topic is, without understanding all these concepts, terminologies, whatever we have, what is event driven derivation, what is workflow derivation, what is a foundation object, actually all that. So you guys can't understand the provisioning settings, what I say that we are required to activate. Okay, so for that reason, I normally first cover the configurations and then come to the provisioning settings. Okay, so going into the provisioning system. So here in the provisioning, guys, we know that we just have to go to the hyperlink of the company name, where that particular company specific provisioning page will open up. In this, the very first one called company settings is a place where all the provisioning activation points will be present. The very first one called company settings. So that might be the basic platform related settings initially, like the language packs and the permissioning model activation, profile activation, all that what we saw initial days. Apart from that, these employee central, PMGM, any module specific activations also will happen here in this company settings itself, guys. So when you click on this company settings, as we already know that we have hundreds of checkboxes over here, to find employee central specific activations, you can just do a Control F search. So from here the checkboxes start. So you can just do a Control F search in the name of, excuse me, in the name of employee central. So employee central. So here are the employee central checkboxes that basically start from employee central foundation objects is the first one, guys. So we know that foundation objects play a very crucial role in the employee central module. So that might be normal foundation or MDF foundation, anything. We have a lot of foundation objects. So employee central foundation objects is one that we are required to activate. And here, effective dated platform. Effective dated data platform is, so we know that employee central is a module that will have the capability of capturing all the historic data, employee personal job, personal history, job history, compensation history, address data history, like this. Lot of historical informations can be maintained. So it is an effective dated platform is what we'll activate. And then employee central v2, the version 2. So what is this v2 is? So since 2016, where the MDF platform has got started, guys. So from then we call it as a second version of EC. Since 2012 till 2015 ending, whatever EC has been used without MDF, that is actually the V1 of Employee Central they call, and now the one that we are using completely on the MDF platform is what the V2 they call, and this will be a default selection these days. So almost the last 3 years, 4 years and all, it used to be two checkboxes, V1 and V2. Okay, so old customers used to be on V1. Any project started after 2016 used to be on V2 kind of. But now there are no more customers on V1. SF has migrated everybody to V2. So there is no point of V1 and they have removed that version 1 checkbox completely. So this V2 will be a default selection that obviously comes in. And then enable business rules for workflow derivation, enable business rules for event driven derivation. So these are the concepts that we have been already looking at. So whenever you have these workflows being triggered through business rules or event reasons being triggered through business rules, these two checkboxes are what that are playing the backend role. But first one is a default one, guys, mandatory. Workflow enable business rules for workflow derivation is a mandatory thing. Without business rules, you can't trigger the workflow, and without workflows, we can't use the system. We need approval mechanism everywhere. Okay. Whereas this second one, enable business rules for event reason derivation, this is optional. So whether the customer will manually select the event and event reason during the employee HR transactions, or it is the system through the concept of business rules, it will derive the event reason. That is the second point. So here they have a choice. Among these two, they have a choice, but for the first one, they don't have a choice. That's the mandatory selection. Okay, so like this we have it. And then for position management, so couple of days in next couple of sessions we'll also see the position management as a concept. So position management enabling part, leave management, if we are required to activate the leave management, enable time off, attendance management, enable time sheet, like this. So we have the different activation points one after the other present over here. So these are all the things what we activate as a part of employee central activations, like around 7 to 8 options what we saw here. Apart from this, guys, any activation that you see over here, so let me just clean it off. Yeah, so all these employee central related, all these activations, these are what we saw. So all these activations, you have one that you clearly observe for every checkbox being activated requires something. They just give you something as requires, something else as requires. So requires is basically saying to activate this, something else has to be activated. So here employee central effective dated platform, enable generic objects, enable attachment manager, requires. First these two has to be activated. Employee central v2, even for this, enable generic objects is something that has to be activated. And next effective dated platform, so this one also has to be activated before you activate this checkbox, it says. So like this, for everything requires is what they give. And in that requires thing, enabling generic objects and enable attachment manager are two commonly seen things. Enable generic objects and enable attachment manager. So where do you find enable generic objects? So if you just copy this and search for this, guys, so you will first find in how many places generic objects is a mandatory thing. So all these points, so these are all the points what are getting highlighted. All these yellow colored items, wherever it is highlighted, these are all the places where generic objects is one required activation. Each and every place, all these places. Okay, finally we will find the actual activation point where generic objects activation point is there. We will find it here on the left hand side. Enable generic objects, this is the one checkbox. So this is activated here. And what is generic objects is nothing but MDF, guys. MDF objects are normally referred as generic objects. It might be MDF foundation objects or MDF portlets, whatever. End of the day, anything working through configure object definitions is the generic object. So generic object activation is a mandatory thing for various employee central activation points. That is one thing. And for generic objects, attachment manager is a prerequisite one. Enable attachment manager. So generic objects is nothing but foundation objects. This is one, sorry, MDF objects. So this is one that you are required to enable for the MDF platform. And enable attachment manager is where the place where you just started the employee central activation points, guys, where you found the employee central things. So here you started employee central foundation objects, the first one. Just 2 lines above it, we have the attachment manager also. Enable attachment manager. So attachment manager is nothing but whenever you're trying to attach anything in the success factor system, either to store it or to upload the data. Say example, you are having the capability of uploading some attachments in various places in the employee portlets. So that might be educational documents or employee marriage certificate, or it is date of birth certificate. Various places we have the documents upload option, right? So that for that thing, and even while you are making some data loads, so you are trying to attach your CSV file what you are preparing with the data. So that CSV attaching into the tool to upload the data, anything, Attachment manager is something that we are required to enable. So we don't have a front end separate screen or a tool for kind of. So for that attaching files functionality to work on the front end, enable attachment manager is required. So this is the one we start with, followed by foundation objects, followed by all the effective dated platforms. Everything will come across. Okay, and then one important tool is the business configuration. For succession data model, we are able to easily handle the front end tool of business configuration, right? So even that has to be activated, guys. Here, enable business configuration in admin tools. This is the one. Only if you enable, the front end tool of business configuration will be available. If you don't activate this checkbox, you are still required to work on succession data model. Okay, I really found in recent times a couple of consultants who have been working on still on XML. They don't know this checkbox has to be activated. They don't know. I felt very funny there. So if you don't activate this on the front end, the business configuration doesn't come and they can't work on the front end. They have to depend everything on the XML. Okay, so this is the way. These are around 10 to 12 max activation points of employee central that are to be made active in the provisioning system. And all these will be in an order even listed in the implementation guide document. So in by mostly by end of this week, I'll be sharing you one employee central implementation guide. So that's the master implementation guide, which will be having around 300 pages of content. So that they clearly mention. So not only that module, any module related implementation guide documents. So in the initial 10 to 15 pages, that module specific what are the activations to be done in the provisioning, they clearly mention as well. So one or two projects is where you will be referring to the document and doing it. From third project, you will directly come here and activate. You will get to know what all to be activated. You need not refer the document particularly. Okay. So this is how the provisioning settings will be made in the SuccessFactors provisioning system for the employee central module. Any questions here, guys? Now I have a question. This is actually a certification question. When we are going to work on this provisioning, first should we upload the XML files or first we should do these provisioning activations? What all checkboxes I have activated? Should that be the first job or uploading of XML should be the first job?
Uploading XML, I guess.
Okay. So every time any module, you are required to activate the provisioning settings, guys. First, whatever checkboxes of this module are to be activated, first you are required to activate. Okay, then only we go into the data models, XMLs, anything. Okay, so if I open that 14-step implementation sequence of employee central, just give me a moment. I'll just open the document. Yeah, so if you see this provisioning, in all these 14 steps of EC implementation sequence, first step is to set up all the provisioning things, and then you create your own ID for the front-end instance, then start working on the data models. These are all coming at a later phase. First is provisioning. Any module, provisioning is the very first step. SF is going to give you the access to the provisioning in the first step. Or what all things to be done in the provisioning, that is first two activations, then XMLs. Okay, so remember this, guys. And after this, next we are required to look towards the front-end permissions. What all permissions under employee central we are required to set up in the SuccessFactors system using any number of roles you create, either you create employee role or a manager role, HR role, anything. So what are the different permission categories that we have to give a permission or to restrict a permission? If we have something possible, then we can work on. So first, let us know what are all the areas that are available under employee central to control the permissions, so that we can make use of them in any role, any number of roles I can create. But here, first point people ask me, I mean, few people basically, not everyone, few people ask me is, We just made some activations in the provisioning. What is this setup of permissions here in the front end again? So main difference, fundamental difference is provisioning level, anything that you activate is a feature that you have activated for this customer system. In this system, you activated it. Okay, so once that feature is activated, who should use it? Or whether all the employees in the company should use that feature, or only managers, or only HRs, or any other target people. So that is what you restrict in the permissioning. Okay, so provisioning level is anything, a setting that you are activating across the company for whom should be access, for whom the feature should be accessible, who should use it, who should not use it, and all is what you decide under the permissions, under the permission groups and permission roles, guys. So for that, we already saw how to set up these permission groups, roles, linking of them and all long back in the introduction to master itself. But now opening any of the rule, let me just show you what all content we have in that exactly. So let me just open any role just randomly. So in the role, clicking on the permission button, we know that we have two categories of permissions in the any role: user side of the permissions, admin side of the permissions. So users, okay, now if I say a manager, is he a user or an admin side of the person, guys? Anybody?
Both, right?
Sorry,
He
can you
can
come
be
again?
he can be a okay manager. Manager is a user.
Okay, manager is a user. If I say CEO, is CEO a user or admin?
That's the
CEO of a
tricky.
company. Nothing tricky, guys. Every employee in a company is a user only. Even if he's CEO, even if he's a chairperson, he's a user. People who touch the configuration is only an admin person. Okay, end of the day, CEO is also a user with different rights. A general employee might have 10 things to do in the system. HR has 20 things to do in the system. HOD has 30 things. CEO has 100 things. That's it. It's all about the permissions that you give that will differ, where everybody is a user. As a employee, I play my role. As a manager, you play your role. As a CEO, he'll play his role. That's it. So anything is user side of the permissions. You want to create an employee role, manager role, HR role, HOD role, CEO role. Any role is a user side of the checkboxes. Here, user side of the permissions is only what you are required to select among. Okay, and then what is admin side means anything that you are required to touch the configurations. So every time who will have the access to the administrator permissions is the consultants. We the consultants who are working on the configurations during the implementation time, we will have the access to the administrator permissions, and after the go live, from company customer side, they will nominate some of the administrators from the company side to handle the system. So if the company might have 100 employees or 1000 employees or 10,000 employees, whatever is the count of the company, hardly administrators will be between 3 to 5 or even 6 7 max. Even if you take one person per one module, if they implemented 10 modules, then maximum 10. Like that, for every module they can have one administrator, or one administrator taking care of 2 3 modules. Sometimes it happens. So EC administrator, PMGM administrator, like that. So they are the people, anything to be done here in the config side, any small change after the go live, or they have to generate some reports, they are required to change the permissioning, new permissions to be added, existing permissions to be removed, okay, to hire an employee, to send a welcome mail. Okay, so various admin activities that they do, everything is under the admin side of the permissions. They want to change the company theme, they want to upload the company logo, anything. So all that are admin side of the permissions. Just a moment. Yeah. So administrator of the permissions is where we the consultants during the implementation phase we'll have, guys, and later on after the go live some nominated administrators only will have it. So majority of the permissions will be on the user side. Now on the user side of the permissions, we have all modules permissions well segregated. Goals, performance, calibration, continuous performance, multiple module related listed. Among them, employee central related, we have three categories here. First is employee central effective dated entities. So effective dated entities is nothing but it is speaking about 6 very core EC specific portlets. EC specific core 6 portlets which are having historic data. Effective dated is historic dated. That is employee personal information, job relationships, address details, dependent details, and there is one more. So total 6 portlets, compensation information, sorry, sixth one. So those 6 portlets are those which will be historic dated portlets. The permissions of that portlets is carried out under this category. Personal information as a portlet, all the fields are listed, all the country specific fields, everything. Once all these fields of personal information portlet are done, scrolling somewhere here, you will have the job information portlets. One second, guys. Here, job information portlet. Even for this portlet, field level. Next, dependence portlet, field level, address portlet, like this. All these permissions are well segregated and maintained here. Next, at last, you'll get the compensation information portlet, field level, all this. So the core EC specific 6 portlets are covered here, guys. I'll just show you that names once again. It's not present here. Let me just type it. Last time I just already listed them. So it's personal information, job information, compensation information, then job relationships, and then address details, dependent details, dependents 1 2 3 4 5 6. Yes, I get covered. Yeah, so these are the 6 portlets. So these are the 6 EC core specific portlets which are historic dated, effective dated or historic dated. Let me make effective dated. So which can store the history among these portlets. It's not just the existing records kind of. Effective dated last 15 years, last 20 years, 50 years, up to you. You can have the history. Okay, so these portlets are these portlets related permissions are controlled here under effective dated entities category. Only 6 portlets. Where are the other portlets? We'll see at a later phase. And these 6 portlets level, that to field level permissions are given, guys. It's not that entire portlet is editable or entire portlet is read only kind of. It's field level you have a permissions. So view permissions, edit permissions, delete permissions, all that. So field level, view current means if you give view current here on the top, all the fields are getting selected. If you want to give field level permissions, you can just select whatever fields you want selectively. This is, or else every field means view current on the top. If you click, it will come for everything. So what does view current say is they can first of all only view the records, not to edit. That to only the latest as on date record. Okay, today what is the employee's marital status? Today what is the employee's nationality? Whatever today is what today's latest information will be seen. History, view history means here also it's a view access, but not only the current record, even the historic records. So employee joined in this company 5 years back, then he was a bachelor. Now last year he got married. So two records are there. One record with bachelor status, one record with a married status. So history can also be seen. And then edit. Once you start giving the edit insert, editing access, you have two things, guys. Edit insert is one, correction is one. So what is this difference is among edit, insert and correction? On the existing record, if you want to make any correction, Did I tell this anytime guys previously in that detail? What is edit, what is insert?
Yeah, I believe you had mentioned and you had given middle name to Anya Singh with correct permission.
Perfect. Anyways, let me can cover it, not a problem. But I just remembered this batch. I normally I tell at this point only, but this batch due to some context I brought that conversation before only. So normally now there is a record which says this is effective from. Okay, there is already a record today effective. Somebody made a change today. Just delete this. Delete it. Okay, so now here we have a record which says from 17th March 2002. This is a record which has employees first name, last name, salutation, all this. Okay, and here you found that there is some particular information that can be filled in which is not updated. Then now you want to update. So that too, that change is not effective today. So whatever now, if you want to maintain some birth date or initial or second title, preferred name, something, whatever you want to enter here is the one that you want to have it effective 2002. It's not at 2021. So then something historic dated you want to make a change, you are required to go to the history view like this. That is, instead of edit icon, you are required to go to the history view. That is here the record which is effective since 2002. That record is what you're going to edit it. Here at the right hand bottom corner you have edit option. So that means exactly speaking, this is the correction you are making. You're correcting something backdated. So at that point of time there is no preferred name entered here. So for Anya Singh has the full name, preferred name is just Anya example say. So that preferred name you did not enter, which is supposed to be entered 2002 itself. Last 19 years it was not entered, now we are entering example. That's a correction. So for that access to be given to go to the historic mode and make the changes is where you get this correct symbol. This correct checkbox is required. Or else if you want to make a change effective today, that is, say example, now if I save this change is something happening effective 2002. In some 2002 record itself, the preferred name as Anya Singh as Anya has been updated. Now, if you want to update in this fields effective today, that is, I'm again going for the editable mode. Here in this, a lot of fields. Let me see if there is any useful field. Where is the marital status field? Yeah, so marital status since 2002 he's in single status. Now we are updating it to married. In 2021 he got married, say very late marriage in that case example. So he or she whatever, it's married now. 23rd March effective today you want to record that change. So that is where you go through the pencil icon, the edit icon. By default system will show you the today's date here and you click on save. This change is effective today, it is going to be recorded. That is where now if you go to the historic mode and see, it is one more record created from today's date. Previously in this March 22nd, in the 2002 record itself, you click on edit and you made a change. But now you inserted a new record into the database effective today. Till 22nd of March, there is no marital status is still single till 22nd of March. From 23rd of March, it turned into married. This is the way you have the historic change. That is, you have inserted one more record into the database. That is where you have this edit insert permission, they say this checkbox. Okay, so correction will give you an access to make any changes on the existing record, where edit insert will give you an option to insert a new record effective a new date. This thing will give you a chance to change on the existing record with the same old date. Here a new date, the new dated record is going to be inserted. That is what effective dated record. That is the way. And this last checkbox is a delete. If and only if you give the checkbox for all the fields delete, then only you will be able to delete that record. If you go into this history view, here you have a delete record, right? Delete button. So this delete button will be visible if only if all the majority fields are selected with the delete icon. That is the way. So this way, for any portlet, you will have that four important permission check boxes: view current view history, edit, insert, correction, all this. So against all those 6 core EC portlets, you will have these kinds of permissions at a granular level that you can actually control generally. Okay. Any questions still here? And then next goes to the employee data. So employee data level, here you have the other portlets. So that is the background portlets, if I have to say. Let's start here. Yes, background portlets. So all those background portlets, you know that any portlet that will be allowing you to store multiple records, and all the records are parallelly active, like education records, certifications, awards, languages, whatever, my previous organization details, all this are what you come under the background portlets. So all these portlets are listed, but the background portlets level here, the option only you have is either the entire portlet is editable, or an entire portlet is only view mode. So any portlet, say example certifications portlet, you are given the view access means entire portlet is visible. If you are giving edit access, entire portlet is editable, not a field level control. That is for these background portlets. Not only background, even other HRIS portlets also, except that effective dated 6 portlets, whatever we saw now, just now, except those 6 portlets, rest all portlets and success factors are completely derived with one single checkbox. It's either complete view access or complete edit access. You can't say 5 fields are editable, 4 fields are read only, kind of. So that is through this. All these portlets are listed. So whether you want to give view access or edit access completely, or you want to randomly select. So for a few things you want to give the edit access, for a few things only view access, like this you can keep on selecting. That is one way. And after these background portlets are done, here you have HR portlets. HR information is HRIS portlets, we say. Biographical information, national ID, next phone information, email ID, all these different portlets. Where again, even for these also you have view or edit. So with a single checkbox, so either you are going to give the view access or edit access on the entire portlet, not on a field level. Okay, so the background portlets and the HRIS portlets are all listed here. You can choose which portlets to be given, which not to be given, all that. And then next important here is actions. So if you are required to give a HR to hire an employee, to to terminate an employee, okay, separation. So such kind of actions you have it here, guys. So hire action and a termination action, the permissions. So here it is every time required to give edit, both edit and view actually. So then only you will be able to hire an employee or terminate an employee. Only view will not work. You are required to give edit with view. So this hiring, if you select this checkbox, this person, whoever has got this checkbox, will be able to access add new employee area, add new employee action. Terminate action, if you select this checkbox, that person will be eligible to terminate any employee. So for terminating, here under actions, you have this terminate as an option. So clicking on this, you get a pop-up where you just have to fill the termination date, the last date of the employee from in the company. So which will be his last date, and what is the reason for termination. These are nothing but the event reasons. For terminate as an event, the different kinds of event reasons: early retirement or voluntary retirement, general retirement, resignation, whatever, you can have different reasons. Okay to rehire, like this, few details you will have it. You regret the termination of this employee, all these kinds of stuff can be filled in and you can save it. So with that date, whatever you fill, for example, you keep 23rd of March as the termination date. 23rd system, in the system employee will be active. Effective 24th, from tomorrow this employee will not be active in the system anymore. Okay, and when you are terminating, say 23rd of March, effective that day, what is the remaining balance? Leave balance will be shown here like this. And if you want to make any payout, that is leave encashment kind of, you can record it here. So this way the termination screen brings up onto the screen if you have this action for termination action. And apart from hiring and termination, in between you have a lot of options like employee promotions, transfers, all those. Say if it is promotion or transfer, you need to change the position or employee, department, location, all that. So for that you go through the change job and compensation information here. Take action, change job and comp info. If it is only salary correction, even then also you go for change job and comp info. You select the compensation information checkbox only. So for any of those employee HR transactions, employee record, the changes happening between the hire to retire cycle. So for that, you need to have this updating of employee records, which is displayed as take action button. So this access is what you are required to have here. So then you'll get this change job and comp info. If that checkbox is not given under take actions, the change job and comp info will not be seen for any user. That is a way. So these are the three important here: hire, terminate, and in between take action for all the other promotions, transfers, salary corrections, whatever, probation confirmations, anything. The next important here, event reasons. Yeah. So here all the events, say though you have given an access to this button, take action button, so that you can go through change job and comp info. But if you are supposed to do only few actions, like you are permitted to do an employee location transfer but not a position transfer. Within the same position you can change the employee between the location, between departments and all, but not a position. If it's a position change, it's a kind of some promotion kind of things can happen where salary components are to be changed. So you are only permitted to touch few events, not all the events. Then under this event reasons, what this person can do, what he cannot do, you can select and deselect. So all the event reasons, okay, the transfers, promotions, whatever you have, all that are listed here. In the manage or job pay structure, what all events, what all event reasons were created, all that are listed here. You can select what are required, what are not required for this person, for this role, what you're actually creating. All these are listed here. The different things: data change, location change, pay change, demotion, promotion, various things. Okay, so here in this demo system the list is very huge, guys, but in real time we don't have these many. Maximum around 20 or 22 event reasons will be created on an average. These many will not be in a real-time system. This being a demo system, they have given a lot of samples. And after event reasons, one last thing you will have here under this, the the pay components. Pay components. So all the salary components, basic pay, HRA, allowances, benefits, whatever you have, different pay components, all will be listed here. So this will be very much useful when you are implementing for multinational companies. Say example, you have being implemented for India, US and Australia. Then the pay components will be country specific. Say example, you have basic pay. Basic pay India, basic pay US, basic pay Australia, separate 3 pay components will be created. If India HR has to access only India basic pay, US HR only US basic pay, like that. In the India HR role, the India related basic pay, like this. When you see multiple basic salaries of different countries, in the India role only India basic pay related checkbox. In the US role only US related checkbox, like that. They will be selecting selectively. What all Indian pay components should be given to this person, only that things can be selected in this checkbox. Okay, so that is the way how the employee data as a category will carry out the permissions of the portlets, background portlets and HRIS portlets. It will give the permissions for the actions like hire, terminate and take action button related option. And the last two are event reasons and pay components. So all these 7 different types of things who are very much important things under this employee data. And then 1/3 category will be employee views, guys. So employee views, we are already used to this while we are working on the custom MDF based portlet. On the people profile, what all sections should be coming up is what this list is. So asserts section. So whenever we created a custom portlet as asserts, we selected that portlet, that section here on the people profile, all that are listed here. So which sections you want to give the access, that you can select. Only those sections for which the checkboxes are given, only that sections will appear on the people profile for that user. That is the way. So these are the three important categories of the user side of the permissions with respect to people profile, what sections should be seen, in the sections what portlets to be seen, in that portlets what fields are editable and viewable. So all that were given, and if you're going to do any actions like promotions, transfers, so that can be done or not. And even if you do, you can do all actions or particularly only promotions, not transfers, like that selectively, that control. Everything is controlled under these three categories totally. Okay, any questions here?
Yes, Suresh,
Yeah,
this event reason we are creating uh, for some actions. Some event is there and there is a reason for it. So should it
yeah,
be always view or we can give edit to users?
edit only. So these things you are definitely required to give with edit. So then only you'll be able to use it on the front end. Only view will not help actually.
Okay.
Because with that you are required to do something in the front end system. So you are required to give the edit access.
Okay. And
Okay.
secondly, the way SAP is working on those XML files, they are reducing dependency of XML and they are bringing in into tools. So are they
Yeah.
working on provision also, provisioning?
Provisioning will not be completely ruled out. Okay. So definitely that is a backend control for them. Okay, so example, provisioning is a place where all the module activations are being done. So if a customer has bought only 3 licenses, but if they are activating five modules, okay, so to avoid such kind of things is where SFP will be keeping the access to the provisioning system the only to the certified consultants, not to release it to the customer. So what are all in the provisioning system? They don't want to bring it to the front end completely. Provisioning will definitely remain.
Oh, but when we go for Employee Central, then we need those UI part, whatever you showed just now, or we need generic objects for creation of you know objects. So why this is not enabled? Suppose a client is taking Employee Central. The moment I go for Employee Central, why this is not getting enabled? They could have lessened the effort.
It's tools wise, right? Who wants to use a tool, who don't want to use the tool? Say business configuration under employee central, who want it, who don't want it, it's choice. Which customer wants to enable it, which customers don't want to enable it. Similarly, workflows related, event reservation related, time off as an application to be enabled or not, time sheet to be enabled or not, position management to be enabled or not. Depends upon the customer choice, right? Every customer doesn't require everything under employee central again. It's not about
Okay.
licenses. What is my requirement? There are customers who say, even if you give me, I don't want Baba, I don't want position management. Why are you activating it in my customer in my instance? Then the only option is go back to the provisioning and disable it, uncheck the checkbox. They don't want position management that way.
Fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, admin side of the permissions now. So in the administrator side is all about these all last 3 to 4 weeks of employee central, whatever we have been looking at, guys. So different tools, different pages that we have been looking that we have been going and working to all that areas. You can control the access, foundation objects, business rules, and MDF objects, portlets, everything. In that regard, we keep scrolling like this. Foundation objects. So importing, we use the option of importing the foundation data. So can the foundation data be imported or not? The normal foundation objects like location and all what we imported, that tool can be used or not. Manage foundation objects. Managing means front end through manage org job page structure. So here in this, if you select any single checkbox in this category, you will get the access to the manage org job page structures. If you don't have access to any of these checkboxes in this role, then manage org job page structures cannot be accessed by that person. If you give access, only view access can be given. That is, the person who has got the access to the manage org job pay structures, he can see what are the locations in the company, what are the pay ranges, grades, anything, he can look at it. But he can't create a new one, He can't edit an existing one like that. If you also want to give the create access, give it. Or create access, you don't want to give everything. Here they can create a location, but they can't create a pay range. They can create a pay grade, but not create a pay component. Like that, selectively, if you want to give the create access, you can do that. Similarly, the insert and correct permissions is same thing like previously, whatever I told you, the same meaning. So this way, each and every object level, you have the permissions that can be controlled, guys. Each and every object level. And then here, employee central import settings means, say you have configured some workflows on the job information portlet, employment termination process and all. In that case, if you are doing a mass upload of the data, do you want to, that workflows what you have configured on these portlets should be triggered or not? For example, in the job information portlet, whenever there is a location change, department change, anything, there is a workflow to be triggered. Then we enable this, enable workflows for selected entities. So now system will trigger a workflow even through the uploads, guys. If you are uploading for 100 employees, for all that 100 employees, whoever is the approvers, to their inboxes immediately that workflow items will go. Only when they approve, the data is updated into the database. So that way, even in the uploads, if you want to have the permissions to work, sorry, the workflows to be triggered, it is allowed. That too only on these three portlets. So spot bonus is one additional payments portlet, and job information portlet, and the employee termination. If you are uploading the termination, if you are not doing the termination manually on the front end, if you are uploading the termination, which will never happen. So the most commonly seen thing is job information. So during the job information uploads, if you want the workflows to be triggered on a bulk, so where in real time, this is a rare case. Uploading the job information on a bulk of after the system is gone live is rarely it happens. Any promotions, transfers and all, they do it on the front end screen itself. Very rarely customer will ask us to upload the things. But if they want to upload, do you want the workflow to be triggered or not? Only on these three portlets they give the option. Okay. And enable business rules for selected entities. That is, during the import process, every portlet level you have the business rules. So on all these portlets, should the business rules be executed or not? In this business rules, if anything is calling workflow, it will not be used, guys. Workflow is supported only for these three things. Using business rule will trigger a workflow, right? So even if it is a workflow, only for these three portlets it will help you. But for other things, business rules, how they trigger, apart from workflow logic, if any other logics that will be triggered. So workflows will not be triggered on any of the other portlets. So even among the business rules you want to trigger or not, you can select. So if you want to say enable, yes, enable. On all the portlets you want the rules to be triggered, or selectively. Address portlet, it has to trigger. Employment details, it has to trigger. Job, it has to trigger. Selectively, if you want, you can even do that. So that is during the imports, business rules to be triggered or not, workflows to be triggered or not, if to be triggered, on what portlets it has to be triggered, all that you can use it, guys. Main things. And then here, manage workflows. So auto delegation, allow auto delegation. On the quick links on the home page, users are getting that option, right? So that they are able to nominate somebody else on their behalf when they are going on long leave, vacations and all. So for this, allow auto delegation is the one that they are required to activate. Then only that feature will be enabled. And manage workflow groups, the place where we are able to create the dynamic groups. We are able to create the dynamic groups during the workflows, right? So for that, this is required. And professional edition of manage workflow requests. Actually, we are not able to find the workflow request as a tool in the demo systems, guys. Let me try once again. Yeah. Let me just check to what extent it is supporting here. Just a moment. So manage workflow requests is one tool in the real time that will be useful to the administrators, that they can actually search for any workflow in the system, employees and related any workflows. So there is a workflow that has been requested by somebody or requested for somebody, what kind of a request type it is, on various categories of filters you can search for. Say example, there is something requested by Anya Singh. So we want to search for all the workflows what are initiated by Anya Singh and click on search. So those will be listed. Definitely there will be a lot of things in the system. All this. So what is that request type is address edition type. A lot of things are address related, national ID edition related. Anya Singh has added a address, added a national ID, all this for different users for whom she has added different names of the people. And has that workflow being completed or not? Status is here like that. So if you want, you can also narrow your search by making requested by Anya Singh and those which are in the request status which are not yet approved, say they are in progress, pending, kind of anything, then click on search. There are no results which are in progress, everything is completed. Like this, you can choose your selection parameters, guys. Let me check pending also in a category. So in pending, there are few things. So there are some salary increments that were done by Anya Singh and that are kept under in pending, that are not yet approved. So on the workflows, here there are some options, guys. Say if you want to lock any workflow to be approved, that is somebody initiated it, it went for approval, but HR wants to control that workflow approval. That is, they don't want the workflow approval to be done. So until the HR has got some other clarifications, that has to be locked. That is locked down. So if I click on lockdown, approver will not get the approve button. He has to wait until it is unlocked. So if I click on lockdown, that's it. That workflow, that particular person cannot actually approve it, the approver. If again, if you want to unlock it, you are required to go to that and you will get an unlock button. So this workflow went to another state actually, because the status got changed. Now from pending to locked status as well. Now where my filter is only on pending things, that's why it's not available. But any workflow which has been once locked, you will get a button called unlock. So if you go to the search, you can change the status to unlocked workflows. Then that workflow which you logged will come and you can unlock it that way. And add another approver. Say as per the configuration, system has brought up few approvers. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. First and second steps approval is done. Third level it is pending with somebody and all. Now apart from these people, if you want to add one more person, one more approver, you can just click on add below and add. So directly you can type the name of any person. Say Alex, you want to add as one more ad hoc approver. So in the runtime, if the admins want to add somebody as the approvers, they can edit, they can give it, guys. And click on add approvers. Like this, you can add additional approvers into the workflow. So in this manage workflow request tool. And then you have change approver. The existing approvers, so here it is vice president of, this is a position based. This position is called as the third approver. It's replacing this. If you want to send it to somebody else, you can replace. It is in editable mode. Directly, if you want to replace it with somebody else, you can do it. Okay, that is change of approvers is also one more possible option. Removal of approvers. If you want to remove somebody, so if you want to remove this person called VP of operations completely, you can delete him. That is one functionality. And then route request. Routing is where, guys, so here step 1, 2, 3. So where step 1 is completed, 2 is completed, 3 is pending. So instead of 3, now if you want to send it to the step 4 directly. So from step 3 to step 4, you want to push it off, you are routing it. So here select step 4 and route request. Even if the third step is not approved, system will bring the workflow to the person who is in the fourth step. That is routing request. So you are skipping somebody as an administrator, and if you're directly placing it to somebody else, that is routing. You can even do that. So this way we can work on the different options that we have along with the workflows. And decline. You as an admin, if you want to decline a request also, you can decline, guys. But as an admin, you cannot approve a request. You cannot auto approve a request. We have auto declining without any conditions, but approval you can't do. If you want it to be approved, you assign it to somebody and ask them to approve, or you assign yourself and you approve it from your to-do list. From the admin tool, nobody has to approve it. If it is, if you want to take care of that approval from your end, you assign it to your name, add another approver and assign your name, and in your to-do list, once it is there, you approve it, but not from this tool. SF doesn't give this option of automatically admins approving it. Admins can decline request even, but not an approve request. Okay, for that SAP says some reasons, a lot of different reasons. So whatever, what we understand is that they don't give the option to approve at all. They say some security reasons and all to auto approve by administrators. Declining is fine, but not approving like this. So for this tool to be accessible, apart from these, there will be a couple of other options also, guys, in the customer system. Demo system, these 5 are there. In a customer system, 1 or 2 additional options will be there, where that will be available if the professional edition of managed workflow request is there. Professional edition, that is nothing but the customer system level you'll have it. So this is the managed workflow request, a normal one, which we can even find in demo systems. This is the professional one. The UI will be almost the same. In the drop down, couple of additional fields will be coming. That's it. Okay, so like this we have these. And then you have we'll discuss on the position management in a couple of days. So for that related, few options: access to the position org chart, and here you have creating position from position org chart. Like this, few options where this manage position level, these permissions are clubbed up of both position management and recruitment related also. So view job requisition, create job requisition. So recruitment and position both clubbed up, you will have some permissions here. Okay, and then most important is MDF. You will get something here, MDF, yeah, metadata framework. So MDF based, what all tools can be accessed as a consultant or admin, what cannot be accessed, you can do it here. So configure object definition is an MDF related. Manage data, you know, MDF related. Business rules, the place where we create the business rules is also an MDF thing, guys. So previously for business rules, we used to have separate XML files. Okay, so in 2012, when SAP started with 7 7 data models. So what are those? 6th and 7th one are relevant to some business rules actually, which used to be very complex those days. That is, the business rules is also for MDF based one. Next, configuration UI, the place where we are designing the UI of your portlet. Manage configuration UI. So that is also MDF based. And during position management, we'll see something like manage positions, manage sequences, and all. Those will also be coming up on the UI on the MDF part. So manage positions is the place where the positions can be created. Manage sequences related to where the position number auto generation. We have something, guys, like if you want to have the position number, department number, division numbers, all these to be auto generated whenever you're creating them. Even employee number, whenever you're creating, if employee number has to auto generated. For that, some number sequences we can create. So for that object, so under position management, even this thing we'll discuss how the auto number generation of employee numbers or for department codes, position codes, anything happen. That is one more business rule concept we'll see there. So these are all the things which are MDF based actually. So the different tools. So MDF 99% if we are giving, we'll give select all only. We don't go individual wise. If it is going to, you are going to give the MDF tools, select all, else completely don't give. That is how it functions most of the time. And MDF foundation objects, each and every object individually, business unit, department, division, all this. So object level again. So whether you are allowed to view the data or even create the data. If it is viewing, only the latest or the current records, and creating a new division can be created. Existing divisions can be updated with correction and the new records, all these things. But importing related, they have given a checkbox individual object level, guys. So can you import divisions or not? Can you import export? Can you import export departments or not? Like this, every object level they have given a checkbox. Say business unit, import export checkbox. So I can say that business units can be imported, but departments cannot be. Again, divisions can be imported, jobs cannot be imported. Like that, we can select, deselect the checkboxes, each and every object level. In that import export data tool that we use it to upload the data, guys, here, import export data, and we uploaded that divisions on that day. So from that tool, few objects can be loaded, few cannot be loaded. You can restrict. Object level, you have that option. But import foundation data that we used for normal foundation objects, you did not have that option at a field level. So in the admin options, the starting itself, Here, import foundation data is a tool access you are giving. That's it. So in this tool, which object can be loaded, which cannot be loaded, that granular level control you don't have it. But for MDF foundation objects, they have given that granular control so that few objects can be imported, few cannot be imported, you can control like that. Okay. So till here, these are all the different objects. And business configuration level, the manage business configuration, whatever we have enabled in the provisioning. In the business configuration screen, many things we can access. But our things employee central related are background elements, HRIS elements, and standard elements. So only that things related checkboxes you can selectively give. Other module related things of succession data model you need not touch. So background elements, here employee profile standard elements, and HRIS elements. View edit for these three are important to be given. Other things you give or not a problem. So that way, on the business configuration, what all to be accessed, that you can select. So these are all the various things under administrator side. Each and every configuration activity, whatever we have been looking at last 3 to 4 weeks, everything related screens are enabled through this admin permissions. And instance synchronization as a tool to transfer the configurations from one instance to the others. What all you can sync? You have the permissions for everything, guys. Not only EC related, multiple modules. Data models you can sync, MDF data, workflows you can sync, background portlets you can sync, employee PMGA module level rating scales, all that can be synced. So like this, what all we can sync are listed here. The screen UIs, MDF screen UIs, MDF rules, anything you have written, permissions, permission groups, permission roles, everything can be synced actually. So normally in the under instance synchronization, we will keep it as select all. We'll just keep it as select all. So all module configurations definitely are to be synchronized, right? So we keep it like this and we use the instance sync tool. Okay. So these are all the various permissions with respect to employee central, both at a user level or admin level, all the different permissioning that we can select, gentlemen. So using all these things, whether you want to create one role or 10 roles or 200 roles, it's up to you. So those are all the checkboxes. In one role you give 10 checkboxes, in another role you give 30, in another role you give 40. Based on that, the permissions will be given to the target users. Okay. Any queries? Okay. So we have one.
Yeah. Sorry, I have.
Yeah, please, Ruba, go ahead.
Yeah, it is very difficult to remember all these things. So, how to go about it when we are in a client project?
Permissions is purely going through the system. There is no even standard document or SF will particularly release. So any topic related, business rules related or anything in the implementation guide documents, they will highlight few things saying that when you are working on business rules, these are to be activated. When you're working on foundation objects, these are the permissions to be done. In different scattered places they give it, not all in one single place kind of. Okay, that is where when we are working on permission setup, we go for these permissions one by one. Every category we look at what is our category, EC related, then what in this, what I want, I don't want, we will do it. Permissioning will literally take minimum 2 complete days to set up, guys. Any project we're working on all these check boxes, 2 complete days, day and night, you said 2 complete days only for setting up the permissions it will take. Where everything you give that permission, you are required to proxy to the user and see how it is functioning. As an employee, if you proxy, as a manager, as a HR, if you log into different people, you are required to see it, how it is functioning. Trial and error it happens. Where maximum 1 or 2 projects only, you will be used to it. So what areas I select, what kind of behavior is coming on the front end, you will get used to it in the implementation. Okay, so success factors itself has not particularly released any document saying that for EC these are all the permissions you are required to select, kind of. They don't do it. Topic wise they scatter it. When you're working on workflows, for those these are the things, for foundation objects these are the things, like that they give it in different areas. Okay,
Fine, fine. And one more thing, in test system, normally how do we go about giving this provisioning?
Provisioning.
Sorry, not provisioning, permissions in test system. Normally, how do we go about going? Because in production system we need to control it, but then in test,
Same things here. That might be development or testing or production. Whatever you want to set up the permissioning model, you can set it in all the systems. So right from the product, the quality system itself, you can set all that permissions. And in production, instead of again recreating them, you can move them using the synchronization tool. If you have
so
properly designed.
initially we'll give in what is that, permissions for all, and then gradually we need to ask them and then control it.
Exactly. That is how it happens. Initially, we give everything and we start that project. Okay, even customer on the day one, if you ask them all these checkboxes terminologies, they are still not clear with SF terminologies. Initially, in the requirement gathering, we don't even do this RVPs things. We park it. At least for 2 iterations, if the project has done 2 iterations, customer started seeing the system, they started handling the system hands-on experience during testing something. At that phase, you ask them, so for employee, what all access you want to restrict, for manager, what you want, like that. And then the discussion will become interactive, where first we'll give everything and we'll start it, and by the mid of the project, based on our assumptions, we'll almost design a decent thing. We'll understand based on the customer's conversations, we'll understand in this customer, for a manager, what are required, for HR, what will be they doing in this company. You'll get an understanding. Based on that, we will design it already. On top of it, fine tuning. Say as in my company, you also give this permission to HR. You don't give this thing to HR managers in the company. Customers will then come up with the inputs when they are seeing the UAT system, testing system. So based on that, we'll do all that fine tuning, tailoring, whatever required, and with that will be pushed into the production system. In the quality, we will finalize the permissionings.
Yeah,
Okay.
fine, got it. Yeah, thank you.
Fine, gentlemen. You're running late. So tomorrow we have one more topic of this employee central standard implementation sequence steps. The 14th step, one more point, HRIS sync job. So this thing we look at, and immediately once that is done, we'll start with position management. Position management discussion. It goes for tomorrow and day after tomorrow also. We'll discuss that. Thank you one and all. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you one and all.